like I'm playing well and the guy still beats me.
Yeah.
So right now we have what looks to be some kind of, it came out of a Sicilian.
It started as a Sicilian, but yeah, then Fabi played 3 C3, switching it to an unlapping, and after D5, I'm not even sure what to call it. And you can have something similar from
The Tarish,
from
French.
the French,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's definitely a French Tarish. That's what I thought it was when I first glanced at the position. The structure is exactly that. White has the advantage on the dark square D4 and also the plus of the pawn being isolated, but it ain't much. It just is not a lot. The only plus it does have is that black has nothing to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the thing is, like, you can lose this with white if you're too persistent in trying to win it with white. Like, if you don't want any trouble, you just sit there, you centralize everything, you put piece on your d4 square, and wait for black to maybe equalize. Yeah.
Yes, grandmasters have learned how to draw positions like this in their sleep. It's a key position. It's not easy to win the isolated pawn on d5. That's the key. But you suffer a little bit with black. But you learn how to draw this position at the elite level. But it really is a 2-result game, more or less, until white does something ridiculous. White has established a b5 square for his knight, so that's useful. Black can, of course, chase it with his knight as well. But Magnus is looking at this. You saw that look on his face. He just
doesn't
kind of
like
grimaced and said, this nonsense you played against me, so boring. Like, why do I have to suffer this position? I tried to play a sharp Sicilian, but instead the guy wouldn't let me, and now I just have to make some tepid draw. And Fabi said, well, I'm the one in first, by the way.
Wait
You're
a
half a
second,
point
what
behind.
draw are you talking about? Am I like, because, yeah, it is some tiny edge for white nonetheless, right?
Yes, but it is. Let's be real.
Okay,
This
B6.
is exactly where you have a small weakness on d5, but how does white do anything with it? This is the key. You want to trade off pieces and go into an endgame properly, but it's just not that easy to do, despite all your activity. And now Magnus just kind of whipped off a trade, which I'm a little bit surprised at. But it's off the board, and now Fabi just hesitating.
Takes was the
playing.
rook.
Takes.
Wow.
That leaves his rook on e1, not quite on that side of knight g5 siding, but no, he has rook takes e8 with check first. So what to do?
What's the plan for Fabi? Well, maybe
I think he's doubling rooks.
double on the d file and somehow get the knight from f3 to e3, attacking the pawn.
And that is, he did play the move knight g5.
Knight g5.
Yeah, I saw this flashed in my mind. I just didn't think it was any good because of the rook takes on e8.
But yeah, but rook takes back, right? And still you have to address the knight on f3. Yeah.
Okay. That's the thing that separates the top players, right? I see a move and I go, okay, fine. I thought it might be good. And he goes, nah, I'm playing it. And then he's going to justify it. Quite an interesting move indeed. And Fabi has gone for rook takes. And rook takes back. Magnus is quite casually saying, this is good for me. And you know what's rough about this is knight takes g5 is met by rook e1 with check.
You do have an intermezzo.
You do have the intermezzo. But he didn't take advantage of it.
Didn't take it, yeah.
Didn't take it at all. And now rook back. And this has become more and more equal by the move as g4. It's still a weak pawn sitting on d5, but it's so hard to win the darn thing. And now, by the way, some activity for black. White better be just a little mindful. Right. Because that knight on g4 is aiming to maybe partner up with a queen. At the moment, you can't because of the knight on a b5, but
hang on a second. Can you go like queen e7? Pretending that you want to
like it's stuff like that. You start to wonder, is it okay or not? It looks like he has an easy g3 move maybe to deal with a threat. But the queen could go to e2.
Yeah. g3, queen e2. Well, perhaps the endgame is equal. You take d5, but white's no longer better.
I didn't think white was better at any point, really. That pawn being weak, but Fabi now has to find Whoa, he played f3?
Do we like f3? No, we don't. No, f3, actually a good move,
apparently. The engine doesn't mind, but I'm surprised at all those weak squares that he allowed. You see Magnus grab that piece over there as though it's thinking time. Hold on a second, and then he just put it back right away. f3 is a surprising move, I have to say, in this position. because of all those weak dark squares. And
Yeah, but the question is where the knight's going, right? I mean, if knight on f6, it will be restricted by the f3 pawns.
yes, absolutely. And queen e3 check is another move, but you don't want to get your knight caught in the position. And there, Magnus has
Queen
decided
e1.
to trade off all the pieces, takes,
Yep.
takes.
But
And now-
the endgame, the result of the endgame, is it unpleasant for you?
Well, I guess the real issue, Magnus is going to play knight. No, but it doesn't do anything.
You got to go king g1, I'm guessing.
Yes.
King
played king-
e2,
What the heck?
knight takes, and knight c7. No, I mean, with such an active king, Fabi's no trouble, I'm guessing.
Well, it's the pawn on b6
King
you have to worry
here,
about.
g5, and knight to a. Well, knight in a corner, attacking this one.
And here comes the king, very
King has
importantly.
to run, king e7.
And he's just in time. But now a passed a pawn
D4.
is about to emerge on the board, and black's going to have to play defense in this position, as white has found two passed pawns, but that black king is just so active that it is highly unlikely that those pawns are
Yeah.
going anywhere as the
And the
king.
knight kind of getting stuck on b6.
It
In
is a
fact,
little stuck.
Computer said that it might be clever for white to just go knight c8 and repeat the moves. Let's see. So b5 was played.
Yes.
Magnus went for f5. Says, I've got pawn myself. I'll be pushing them the two.
And now knight c8.
Knight check. But you can go king d7, right?
He's
What?
gone for the more
Magnus
aggressive king
Doesn't
c5.
want king d7. King c5.
I got, my I don't know why my heart just skipped a beat, but b6 on the board and d4 with check. Magnus driving the king backwards before doing anything. King to f2. And I got to tell you, I'm just
mean,
a
you
little
have to
scared for somebody that an accident's going to happen all of a sudden because there's passers on the board. And Fabi has established two connected passers, but he's got to use just his knight to support them. But it's just, this feels like one move away from an accident.
Exactly. I mean, there must be a draw with a precise play, but
Yes.
Yeah.
And clock time's ticking down, and Magnus
Knight
says,
e3.
you know what, let me abandon anything and go get my knight over to where it's stopping those bad boys from advancing. Now Fabi can play the move knight to e7 and pick off the f-pawn, but Magnus can now
e5.
start doing damage himself as well, and this looks like black is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And knight takes on f5.
King
d3
takes.
check was probably
D3
going to
check,
be played
yeah.
just to get that pawn out of the way, and they've agreed to a draw. That's what happens when the big dogs play. Very close margins. And